Hi and welcome to Consider This. I'm Sharaad Kuttan and I'm here in Melaka at the Casa del Rio Hotel here to interview Ahmad Azri Abdullah. He is with AMANA and its Youth and Legal Committee. Azri, thank you so much for joining me. I mean, youth is a big issue in politics these days, though with the Melaka polls, I understand the 18 to 21-year-old cohort has been left out. They essentially have been disenfranchised, and it would have brought, I think, over 150,000 new voters onto the rolls, which would have been a real game changer, I think, at least in terms of expectations. But let me ask you, are young people in Melaka angry that they didn't get a chance to vote in this election?
Well, first, thank you, Sharaad, for having me here today. If we want to speak about the sentiment of the young people in Melaka, I would say about half of the youth would be indifferent. They don't think, of course, the Undi 18 movement, Undi 18 amendment is very welcome here and very well celebrated. But based on what happens in our political arena, that Undi 18 movement or Undi 18 amendment has not actually encouraged the young one to be more active and more willing to know about the policy and so governance in Melaka. So even though this amendment has not been enforced in this current state election, I don't see the young making a huge cry about it. Maybe they are concerned about it. Maybe they have not given the spotlight to speak on it. But when we go around during campaigns, the young ones are not really interested to engage and know on the policy making, especially if it's outside the city area. But I'm not saying that they don't care, that they don't mind, but I'm just saying the mood in general is very indifferent.
Okay, so that's interesting because I guess it's up to political parties like yours and others to mobilize sentiment, right? I mean, to create that sense of this was a wasted opportunity, or this outrage that they were disenfranchised. You are a lawyer, so you know there's a gap between what the law does, it's an enabler.
Yes.
It doesn't provide that last mile, as it were, of political activism. I mean, tell us about your journey in politics. Why, as a young lawyer, have you decided to become politically active?
I think it all boils down to personal reason. I grew up here in Melaka. I studied my secondary education here in Melaka, and then I moved to KL, studied in University Malaya, and then I worked there for almost 4 years. But it has always been at the back of my mind to come back and serve and work here in Melaka, because Melaka is such a nice place to stay. But the problem for the young people in Melaka is a very beautiful state, a state that allows you to own house at a very reasonable price, but you don't have the opportunity and also the work opportunity that enables you to achieve those things. So that's why when I returned back to Melaka, the first reaction from people around me, are you retiring? Because that's what people do when they decided they had enough with trying to pursue their dreams. They go back and come back to their hometown. But Melacan people, right, when I come back, I try to find my friends and try to reconnect again. I found out almost all of us has go out from Melaka, trying to look for better opportunity. So when this happened, it made me realize that there is a need to change a policy. And one of the first, my experience on why I wanted to be involved in politics is when I went into university. So you meet around people and you realize students from Terengganu, Kelantan, or even Selangor itself, Sabah and Sarawak even so, they even have their own state government supporting their education. That does not happen in Melaka.
Why
The
so?
only thing I can recall, and I still believe this still continue until today, is they only give you a one-off money assistance, which is only 400 if you undergo a degree in any local university in Malaysia.
Okay, so that's a couple of lunches over a couple of months,
Yes,
maybe.
yes. I think it will be finished up during orientation week already.
Okay, so the issue of making Melaka a place where people can pursue their professional goals and aspirations and get a fair wage. These are issues that have been expressed to me in the short time that I've been here in Melaka. The question is, can a state government change that? I mean, what could be done on policy level to change the job opportunities landscape in Melaka? Or is it something that Melaka will have to accept, that it's a beautiful place to retire? Maybe you make your money somewhere else and then you build a nice home here with that money and then come back later. What are the realistic options for government in terms of this kind of issue?
Like if I take it into my personal experience, like, I'm a lawyer practicing in KL before. Now I'm practicing in Melaka. Melaka lawyers, we don't really get big cases here. One of the reasons is because Melaka is sandwiched between Kuala Lumpur and also Johor Bahru. And that effect, I believe, also...
You skipped over Negeri Sembilan, but never mind.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I think Negeri Sembilan and Melaka also face the same situation because we are sandwiched between these two modern states that they are under presumption that they have better lawyers and better facilities to help around. So that effect also spills over different sectors of economy here in Melaka. So if they want more advanced professionals, they can always take someone from Kuala Lumpur. So what I think can be changed at a policy level is to always favour and put Melacan first. Because when we look around, there's actually a lot of Melacan people that are capable of doing things, of providing services to the government. So what the state government can do in their projects, in their tender, to actually add on a requirement to have the company to be located in Melaka. I don't think this has been made compulsory in the state government, and I think it's a good policy for us to explore in the future. And one thing, if I may highlight, for youth empowerment, right? Actually, Parti Amanah, right before the DUN was abolished, we actually sent a memorandum to the state government because we realized even though there is a constitutional amendment to lower down the age of voting to 18 years old and also to change the eligibility of becoming ADUN at 18 years old, this has not been translated in the state constitution. So we highlighted this matter. We sent a memorandum to the chief minister. Of course, he refused to see us, but then we were expecting at least this matter will be brought up in the DUN. But what happened is what we have right now.
Right.
The DUN has been abolished after we sent over the memorandum.
I want to ask you about the fact that many of the major coalitions, BNPN and PH, have all projected the youth faces of some of the candidacy of freshening up the lineup and all that. But there are, of course, a lot of old politicians clinging on to power here, or at least hoping to continue to be in power. Does that matter to the voter? Is the voter looking at those old faces as a sign of security? They actually see old politicians. There's no uncertainty around them. It's like, oh, this is the devil I know, as it were. Or are they excited by a new slate, younger people? Being young, is that political capital for a political party in this election? I would like to think so, Sharaad. I think it's very exciting. I'm from Pakatan Harapan, but I think Barisan Nasional and also Perikatan Nasional has also fielded a lot of young candidates, and it's actually very healthy for the people. So if we look at politics as a product, and this party coalition as the producer of those products, as the end consumer, it's actually very exciting for us to see new faces. But apart from being young, I don't think it is enough to entice the voter to vote for you. What you must do is you must show quality, you must show your plan. Even, let's say, manifesto, many people thought that people don't read into it, don't care about it. But I think nowadays, because we have realized that the government can be changed, that stability or just having one single party to rule your state for many, many years is no longer the only option. People are start looking into different and several factors before deciding how they vote. And being young is one advantage. Of course, you don't have any baggage. You are fresh. You can offer new ideas. And then having Syed Saddiq and also other young politicians that we have after GE14 is also very helpful to change the perception. So that's why I think every party coalition here in Melaka general election
is actually very keen on putting forward these young people.
Actually, I want to ask you about that because the exclusion of the Muda party, it comes back to our early discussion about mobilizing youth sentiment around this thing. So if you're saying that indifference to a lost opportunity of being disenfranchised, somebody needs to generate that. If Muda was in town, as it were, would that have been, would there be more, or are the youth wings of the various coalitions, including AMANA, DAP and PKR for PH, are they mobilized? Even though those young people can't vote, are you going out and telling them, you shouldn't be able to vote and generating that? Is that happening?
I think if Muda were in this election, it would be very exciting. But even without Muda, I think Pakatan Harapan on its own is doing very well on that front. We have always engaged the young people even before the election. But during the election, we have to be a bit more realistic and we have to be focused on the bank voters that we know. And that sadly exclude the 18 years old segment because they have not been recognized, they has not been allowed to vote in this election. But I would just say that the efforts are just being put on hold at the moment. Of course, we are still engaging them. We have not closed down the door on them. If they want to get involved, they want to be directly follow us throughout our campaign, that is actually very welcoming. But as of now, we are focusing on the current voters. But let's say Pakatan Harapan is given the mandate again to govern Melaka. Even in the manifesto launched by Pakatan Harapan in Melaka, we can see there are several policies that are tailor-made for the younger generation. For example, we are focusing on digital marketing. This is to help young and upcoming businessmen in around Melaka to propel and also to help them to cater with the rise of Internet of Things. Right. And one thing I should highlight, I think during Pakatan Harapan rule of 22 months in Melaka, the first 4 months we have actually increased 55 new telco towers to ensure that people are able to get fast internet here in Melaka. Right. This is actually quite sad, Sharaad. My constituency is in Paya Rumput. If you go to Paya Rumput, it's not actually a rural area. It's actually very modern. But some areas, including my own neighborhood, we don't have access to high-speed internet as of yet. And then when pandemic strikes, my youngest two siblings they were having a lot of difficulty to enter and access the education materials from the school. Right. And if this happened in Melaka, if this happened in Paya Rumput, I'm sure even a worse situation happened in other rural areas, such as in others.
Unfortunately, as we run out of time, I'd love to talk to you more about the details of it. Maybe we can continue this conversation after the polls on Saturday. Thank you. Thank you so much, Azri. So I've been speaking to Ahmad Azri Abdullah. He is with AMANA, the component party of Pakatan Harapan. He's with the Youth and Legal Committee. I'm here at the Casa del Rio Hotel in Melaka. I'll be back. Stay tuned. Hi and welcome back to Consider This. I'm Sharaad Kuttan here in Pangkalan Batu in the state of Melaka. Pangkalan Batu is one of the many constituencies up for grabs in the upcoming state elections. I'm here to speak to Muhammad Danish Zainuddin. He is a candidate for Pakatan Harapan. He's a DAP youth member. And Danish, Pangkalan Batu is a constituency whose national reputation far exceeds its size, right, because of the very famous defection by your predecessor from your party, Anuhizam Bhakti. So perhaps we can start there, not about his motivations, but really about the way voters are reading this and how that sentiment is either going to impede their participation or shape their way they think about politics in Melaka. So can we talk about that? I mean, you've been on the campaign trail for a couple of weeks now. What is the sentiment on the ground?
Okay. First of all, thank you to Astro AWANI because giving me this opportunity and chance to be highlighted in the news. First of all, when we talk about Bekalan Batu, I must thank my predecessor or the incumbent state assemblyman because make this seat as a popular seat, especially when we have this state election. Bekalan Batu is a seat where it's considered as a semi-urban seat. Yeah, and there is a balance between taman and also we have flats and we have a few Malay kampung. Don't have any significant Chinese area here. In terms of the demographic, we have 65% of Malay voters, and the remaining 33% is considered the non-Malay voters. So basically, when Nur Hizam left the party, changed his support to Barisan Nasional Perikatan Nasional State Government previously, to show that we still have the presence, the AP still serve the people there. I was in charge, I was in charge and got instruction by the state chairman, Datuk Teh Kok Yew, to take over the role as the coordinator of DAP in Dun Bekalan Batu.
Right. So you're not a kind of helicopter candidate. You've been working the ground for some time.
Yeah, but of course I feel that it's not enough yet. But we don't have any choice. We need to move forward and do whatever the best to serve the people and win this election.
Right. Okay. So you're part of DAP Youth. You're the state secretary. Tell us about that element in this game. In that, does being young, and I know a lot of the coalitions have kind of promoted the idea that they put a lot of new faces in this election and so forth. Do voters in Bekalan Batu value your youth, or do they see it as a liability? Do they think that politicians should be older and more experienced? What's the balance of attitudes towards youth?
Yeah, when I was received the news that I was a candidate. I will be the candidate for Bekalan Batu. It's really it's a very tough fight. We need to see in the future that what we can assist people or serve the people in Bekalan Batu. So as a young candidate, I think we can see a new dynamics in Malaysian politics, especially when we talk about Melaka state election. The three main coalitions, they all have new faces to be offered as their candidate, and Pakatan Harapan also was not left behind because a lot of our candidates also are new faces like me, and also the youngest candidate for this whole state election is 21 years old. Basically, in terms of the candidate in Bekalan Batu, 4 of them are more senior, and I can consider they all have their own experience. Well, what I can tell you is I already did my work since the past 432 days since August 2020, and we have our own report card. What already did by our team, I must thank them because just from their support financially, and also they are contributing their energy to help me in Dun Bekalan Batu. I believe people can evaluate this as something that they need to make a wise decision on 20th of November 2020.
Right. But my question is more to what people think, right? And so, because in some cultures, politics is dominated by older people, and partly because people on the ground, society values age and experience. Today, there seems to be a shift, maybe a disappointment in the previous generations for their inefficiencies, their corruption, their hubris, and obsession with power over the interests of the people. But has that really seeped down into the grass? I mean, into the grassroots. Do people think what we need is a fresh face? That's my question. I mean, when you encounter people, when you're doing your campaigning, I know it's limited, but when you do your campaigning, what are they asking you? Are they saying, are you suitable? Are you too young to be, doing?
Yeah, basically when we go to the ground, the sentiment is they are frustrated with what happened in the past. And of course, if you ask me as a young candidate, I represent the young voices, and of course I'm young and I'm more close to the issue raised up by the young people. So I'm offering myself to bring a new politics, especially in Melaka. We want to serve the people. We want to see what we can do for the betterment of the people in Melaka, and of course for our Don Pekalan Batu. And
I'm going to put it this way, okay. Are younger people, let's talk about the fact that because of the timing of the state elections, 18-year-olds, 21-year-olds are not going to get a chance, or at least people under 21, are not going to get a chance to vote. Does that make young people in Melaka and in Pekalan Batu in particular angry? Do they feel disenfranchised?
So far, when we met the people, of course, if I can share the composition of our voters in Pekalan Batu, 42% of them are more than 50 years old. It's an aging population area, and I must say that the focus that I should shift on is towards the elders, the elders, and how I can promote myself to offer them that I can serve better than other candidates. I have more energy, and this is something new for the people in Pekalan Batu. And I believe we already did our campaign for, I think, for the past 1 week plus. So we need to see, and we need to work whatever we can. We need to strategize. I believe with my team that for the next 3 days it will be very tough because of the strict SOP that we have. We cannot meet the people directly, but we will try to adapt with whatever SOP made by the SPR to engage with the people of Pekalan Batu.
So, okay, let's put it this way then, Melaka is a very small place, right? And it's been said to me over and over again that it's small, that people know each other, they know each other's stories, there's a lot of personal connection that maybe you won't have in the larger constituencies in Selangor or Kuala Lumpur. So, does that matter? Is familiarity with the candidates what that will tip the balance, or is it party loyalty? Today, people who voted for Pakatan in the past, will they continue to vote for Pakatan, or are they saying, well, we don't know, we want to kind of figure that out ourselves? Party loyalty, personalities, what is driving the campaign here?
Yeah, so far we can see for the past 1 year what happened in the Sheraton move. Some people might be frustrated with the current political situation, and I think for this state election, like what I said, it will be really tough because people not only evaluate the party is one of the something that can lift you up, but at the same time you also need to prove yourself because people want to see you, what can you offer to the people in your constituency. And I think the character and also the personality is one of the issue that we need to see what we can do. So far in Pekalan Batu, it's an aging population area, and when we have a young candidate, I'm single, I'm not married yet, I don't have any responsibility. My responsibility only towards my parents, and I think I will let myself and offer myself for the people of Pekalan Batu 24 hours. They can call me, they can okay. Just tell me what they want.
Right, but I wanted to, so I know that's your pitch, your pitch to the voter. There are several things else that are happening. COVID is one of them. You say it's an aging population. Are they worried about coming up, to vote? Is that going to push turnout numbers down? Yeah,
the turnout number or percentage targeted by SPR is 70%, and we need to expect maybe it will lower than 70%. And I believe as what we can do in Pekalan Batu, Pakatan Harapan Operation Center, we already plan to have to prepare a transport to get it ready, and we also open the registration for our voters. If they want to go to vote, we can offer them a transportation to go to the voting center. So this is something that really new.
This is your ground game, basically. Get the voters out.
Yeah, is it? Get the voters out, and this is something important. And also at the same time, we also need to comply with the SOP. We need to prepare something like sanitizer gun to make them confident that they are safe to go to vote during this state election.
Right. Okay. So it's in the final minute. So we have it's a multiple. It's not a straight fight in this constituency, at least the three big coalitions here. Then we have the former Adun himself, who's offering himself as an independent. where do you think the advantage lies? Who has the advantage? Is it Noizam Bhakti as the incumbent? Is it the party that he formerly stood on, or is it new players?
Yeah, when I go to the ground, the first thing that we need to tell our people that the message is clear, that Pakatan Harapan is offering something that for the betterment of the state, and also we already named our candidate Ali Zahari as a chief minister candidate. That if we have the mandate to get back the state government, and I believe in terms of the candidates in Pekalan Batu.
Does anybody have the advantage?
I don't think anyone got the advantage so far, but we'll still work on it. And in terms of other candidates like Nur Hizam, even though he is the candidate run under independent flag, but people, this is what people say, as an independent candidate, there is no future. They cannot see what is the vision, what's next. They also want to know about it.
Right, I think he's offering himself as a kingmaker.
Yeah.
But that maybe, and that's an interview I have to do with him. But thank you so much, Danish, for
welcome.
being on the show. I've been speaking to Muhammad Danish Zainuddin. He is the Pakatan Harapan candidate for Pekalan Batu. It's a constituency in Melaka. That's all we have for you on Consider This. I'm Sharaad Kuttan, only on Astro AWANI.